Tulsi Gabbard, it has been announced, is going to be a speaker at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference. CPAC, and I'm sure all you know this from watching this show over the years, is a circus. It is very far-right people across the board. I'm not sure I've ever seen a lefty speak at CPAC. I don't think I've ever seen it. And they give us endless material every year. I mean, just crazy, incredible stuff comes out. I remember when Ben Carson compared Obamacare to slavery when he gave a speech there. I remember covering that. But anyway, let me show you this article here from The Hill. They'll give us more specifics. Former Representative Tulsi Gabbard is set to speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference this week. The chair of the group that organizes the gathering announced on Monday. Gabbard, who once sought the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, will address the annual conference's Ronald Reagan dinner on Saturday night. Conservative media personality Glenn Beck is set to give the keynote address during the dinner. Gabbard's scheduled appearance at CPAC, a gathering of conservative activists and elected officials, is unusual for a Democrat, though it won't be the first time she's rankled her own party. The former Hawaii congresswoman has repeatedly criticized members of her own party, most recently President Biden, whom she accused earlier this month of unnecessarily escalating tensions with Moscow amid a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine. CPAC is set to begin on Thursday in Orlando, Florida. Among the other speakers scheduled to address the conference are former President Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, all three of whom are seen as potential contenders for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. It is hilarious to say Mike Pompeo is a contender. He's going to try to be a contender, and he's going to get roughly 2%. Anyway, so I remember back when Bernie was running for president and he gave a speech at Liberty University, and it was based because Bernie went in there and said basically all left-wing stuff. I mean, maybe there were tiny little points of agreement with the conservative Christians at Liberty University, but pretty much everything was him going in there repping leftism, because that's what Bernie does. So taking a different message to a ideologically separate room. But here's the difference. Tulsi's not going to do that. And we know she's not going to do that. Why? Because of her entire trajectory over the course of the past however many months. We know. So think about this, guys. She portrayed herself as the anti-war person. The anti-war person. Then when President Biden pulled the boots on the ground out of Afghanistan, the entire corporate media was shitting on him. All the Republicans were shitting on him. And even a lot of elected Democrats were shitting on him. There were only like 3 of us out here in the entire political landscape, the tiny little corner of it that we have, that were like, whoa, wait, but he's doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing. They were acting like the withdrawal was worse than the 20-year war and occupation. They acted like it was the biggest crime imaginable to simply get our troops out of a war we'd been in for 20 years with no end in sight and no aims and no goals. Nobody even brought up the Afghanistan papers when we were withdrawing. The Afghanistan papers showing all the rank corruption and abuse and idiocy and incompetence. They acted like it was the worst thing Biden ever did when it was the right thing to do as a matter of principle. I was one of very few people defending Biden on that front. Tulsi Gabbard, the anti-war person, was MIA. Now, to be fair, at the time she was on some active duty deployment. Okay, fair enough. But it's not like when she got back, she was like, oh, by the way, Biden was right, and y'all are fucking crazy for going after him as viciously as you did. She didn't say that. Now, by the way, there is stuff to go after Biden for, of course, but it wasn't the withdrawal. It's what happened after the withdrawal. It's now we got the endless sanctions on Afghanistan that are literally starving people to death. You could argue that's worse than the war, kind of is worse than the war. But again, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen Tulsi talk about that. If I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I haven't seen her talk about that. So the anti-war person was MIA on that. But it gets worse. Remember when she went on Tucker Carlson? And Tucker threw a softball down the center of the plate because Biden had just drone striked civilians in Afghanistan and pretended like they were getting some sort of ISIS faction. So Tucker invites on Tulsi to be like, droning innocent people is bad. And she didn't, those weren't the talking points she went with. She went with, look, we're in an existential war against radical Islamic extremism, and so you got to win that war, right? Even Tucker was like, I invited you on to say drone strikes are bad, and you pivoted to Muslim extremism bad. What does Muslim extremism have to do with when we kill innocent Muslims? It's got nothing to do with it. In that case, we're the extremists. We're the terrorists. We're the ones who killed innocent people. Totally misses it. Absolutely absurd. But it got somehow worse than that. Because you still thought, okay, well, look, all this stuff is terrible and bad, but, I mean, she's been clear for a long time. She supports Medicare for all. She supports $15 minimum wage. She's not economically conservative, right? Well, then she does a Fox News appearance where she goes after Build Back Better from the right. She attacks it for, oh, there's so much big spending in this bill, and there's so much inflation that we got to worry about, and this is just the unnecessary expansion of government. She even did an appearance with Hannity where Hannity was like, I think you're one of us now. And Tulsi's like, tee-hee-hee, maybe I am. So what happened? What happened? Look, you guys know me. I'm not the kind of person who goes after intentions unless there's overwhelming evidence. But is it a possibility that the intentions here are not exactly pure? Of course it is. So is this just, look, all the lanes for me are cut out in the Democratic Party, so now I'm going to make a lane for myself as, you know, the turncoat, as the one who evolved to conservatism? That's possible. It could be planned out like that. Is it possible that she had a genuine, you know, ideological change? Sure. But I'll say to you the same thing I said back when we were talking about Dave Rubin, which is normally that sort of shit happens when you're 17. It doesn't happen when you're a grown-ass man. Like Dave Rubin was like 40 years old when he somehow flipped on literally every single policy view that he had. You're 40 years old and you flip on like every policy view you have? I don't know, dog. A little bit sketchy. Now, it's not impossible. There are people who are like that. Fair enough. There are some. But is that the case with these particular figures? I'll leave that up to you. I'm not going to cast any aspersions that I can't back up with evidence. But either way, I massively disagree with her. Either way. Whether it's exploiting a lane and it's pre-planned out, or if it's a genuine evolution, either way, it is wrong. Elder care, universal pre-K, lower prescription drug prices, Medicare expansion, extended child tax credit, all of those things are objectively good, and she opposed the bill that had it in them. Those things are objectively good. She opposed it. It was objectively correct to pull out of Afghanistan. She opposed it. Or not that she opposed it. She didn't say anything about it when she portrayed herself as I'm the anti-war person. When you drone strike innocent civilians, it is not the proper thing to say afterwards, there's a lot of Muslim extremists and we got to defeat Muslim extremism. Know what I'm saying? God damn, man. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but this is where we are now. And the only silver lining is, well, now she just has a totally new crowd. Like her original people who were with her, they're all gone, you know? It's just now it's some other demographic group, some other contingent that has gone all in on the Tulsi train. But the OGs who were with her when she stood up for Bernie Sanders and tried to portray herself as leftist, I mean, I don't know a single one that's like, yeah, I'm still with her on everything, because you can't be, unless you've also changed your ideology massively. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.